Hey everybody, this is Mike Anderson from Collision Advice. We're going to try this one more time. Tracy, can you give me a little thumb up in the background if you guys can hear us? Everybody's good. All right, all right. So, hey, first of all, thanks everybody for joining us for the podcast this week. We're coming to you live, right? Remember, on the road live with Mike Anderson. We're coming to you live from the wonderful state of Minnesota. Now, why are we in Minnesota? Well, many of you may or may not know that I facilitate 20 groups, which are where shops get together on a quarterly basis and benchmark and share best practices and ideas. And we're actually having our national conference this week in Minnesota. So we're coming to you live from Minnesota. Now, what is our podcast about today? Well, our podcast is we're sitting down with real people talking about real experiences. So what do I mean by that? We're here to talk, my teammate and I, Sheryl Driggers, with three individuals, three consumers that are not being paid to be here. They have not been coached up by us, but they've been interviewed, and we're going to interview and share with you what these three vehicle owners, these three consumers, what their experiences were with body shops in the state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and we always got to represent the East Coast from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So Sheryl, let's introduce our guest today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited for today. Today's episode is absolutely a powerful one because we are giving the microphone to the most important people in our industry, and that's our customers. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for traveling all the way here. I know two of you guys had to travel in this morning. We have, as Mike said, three real customers, right? They've had real experiences, and we have been very careful as we have gone through this process of interviewing that we have said over and over and over again, I do not want to control the narrative. So everything that you're hearing today is from their experiences. And so today I want to start, and we want to introduce the three customers that are here with us today. But I also want to set the stage that at Collision Advice, we believe that every stakeholder in our industry has the power to impact the customer experience. So whether you are a shop owner, whether you are a manufacturer, an insurer, a technician, whatever your role in our industry, please lean in. Listen and stay curious, because what our customers have to say today is a powerful story that if we listen, we can absolutely create change. And so we're not here just to hear stories. We're here to create change. So today I want to start by introducing Brooke. Brooke is
Let's
here.
Let's go ahead and, if we can we share the PowerPoint now? Is that correct?
Yes.
Sheryl, let's go ahead and share the PowerPoint if we can. And Sheryl, maybe you can just advance to the next slide.
Absolutely. So Brooke, thank you for being here. I want to introduce Brooke. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I love Minnesota in the summers and fall. I am a massage therapist. I love being outside with my husky and my boyfriend, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And tell us a little bit about what happened in your accident.
So about 3 months after I got my car, I was driving in a blizzard when I spun out of control and ended up hitting both side rails, damaging both sides of my vehicle pretty extensively. I was okay though, but my car was a different story.
And you told me that this was your first car purchase, is that right?
This was, yes. I spent over a year researching cars, and I fell in love with the Prius Prime Premium. I get great gas mileage, and I think it's stylish. So my first big purchase.
And these are a couple pictures of your vehicle after the accident. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we can see a couple things. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
So real quick, I just want to ask Tracy, the other laptop we had, something went wrong. It came offline. You can see the PowerPoint. Okay, my apologies. Back to you, Sheryl.
You're good. So Brian coming in from Philadelphia this morning. I know you had some travel delays, so thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to be here. I'm from Philadelphia, New Jersey area. Spent an enlistment down in the military in Florida, in the Navy for a few years, and came back, moved to Philadelphia, and sure enough, about 6 months later, my car got broken into, and a bunch of shattered glass, and it got a couple things stolen out of it. Nothing crazy, but there's a ton of glass everywhere.
By the way, thank you for your service as well.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. And then Tim, thank you so much for being here. Tim, coming from us from Wisconsin.
Yep.
Tell us a little
Just
bit.
across the river. So I'm Tim from Wisconsin. Big outdoorsman, hunting, fishing, everything like that. Being from Wisconsin, we go through a lot of deer hits, deer collisions, and that's what mine was. Pretty classic deer hit. Driving a back road at about 9 o'clock at night, deer jumped out. I believe it was July. Deer jumped out and hit my truck. So front bumper was pretty much done after that. So
just for clarity, you have a GM Chevrolet pickup truck.
GMC Sierra.
GMC Sierra, so a
Yep.
pickup truck. And you had a Toyota vehicle, and you had an Audi.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure I got the scene right.
And so I think we can kill the PowerPoint for now, because now we want to have a conversation,
Yeah.
if that's okay with everybody. And we really want to talk through. And so I want to start at the very beginning of, what is it that influenced your decision on repair shops? So Brian, what was it that influenced your decision on choosing your repair shop?
So mine was more out of convenience. It was a big chain shop that I had seen the name a couple times driving around. So I just kind of assumed that, it was a good shop. And then my insurance company highly recommended them too. So it just seemed like the easiest, quickest thing to do was just go with whoever they told me to go to.
So did you do any research online?
There was 2 of the shops in my area of this chain. So I just did kind of like a quick, which one has a higher review, and they were both kind of right in the middle. They were around 4, low 4s, but I just went with the higher one.
So again, you wrecked your Audi, you called the insurance company, and they referred you to someone.
Yep. Yeah, they said you could go one of our preferred shops. It was going to be a lot easier that way. There's a lot of benefits. Something that they said that I kind of missed, but when I looked back at it, it didn't really make any sense. They said that they make sure that they don't overcharge for the parts and stuff.
Right.
And I kind of realized later, why would I care what the insurance company is paying for the parts? I want the best parts in my car. But
Sure. So you took it to a shop that they recommended. You did a little bit of research, checking some online reviews, and it was a national chain.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So Tim, tell me about your experience. What were the factors that influenced your decision?
So I've been going to the same shop for basically since I was 16, since I started driving. Really never had any issues, so just kept going back.
And Brooke, what was it that influenced your decision?
My insurance company gave me a list of 15 DRP shops, and they were all booked out 6 to 8 months to get me in. So I thought I'd go with a family recommendation, which is a shop down the road from my house. And I looked them up. They had 4.7 star reviews. So that's where I went.
And did your insurance company know that the shops that they sent you to had a backlog of 6 to 8 months?
I did tell them that, and I told them that's why I'm going to this next shop.
Okay.
So just so I understand, so the insurance company referred you to some shops because you knew of a shop that you knew of already. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You had a shop.
I didn't-
Had you done business with that shop before?
I had, yep.
Okay.
And so I didn't really need to shop around or anything like that.
Right. So you had a shop already that you had done business
Yes.
with.
Yep.
You did not have a shop. Had you ever had an accident
This
before?
is my first accident.
First accident. Okay. Well, they say it only happens once every 10 years. So
Okay.
hopefully both will be good,
Good.
right? So you did not have a shop in mind. You called the insurance. They referred you to some shops. Those
Mhm.
shops had a bit of a backlog. Said maybe they couldn't get to you right away.
Mhm.
So you then in turn went and found another shop on your own, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And then you had you had an accident before?
I had, yep.
Okay. And did you think about going back to that shop, or did you have a bad experience with another shop previously?
I had a really good experience with Dean's shop, which was the shop I ended up going back to.
Okay.
But I had been there before, and I knew that he was great and everything was good. I kind of just assumed that all shops were, kind of
Like that
created
shop you
equal
went
or
to?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He set the standard really high. So I just kind of assumed they were all like that.
Okay. So then you called your insurance, filed your claim. and then they said they suggested you go to a shop, and then a national chain shop, and you went to that shop.
Yep, and it was
Okay.
a little bit closer as well. So
Okay, it was closer to where you lived at. Okay, all right. I just wanted to get some clarity. And then, did you you said when you researched reviews, was it online Google reviews? Was it Yelp reviews? Was it reviews on the insurance company's website? And by the way, just so you know, for clarity, I have never met any of these individuals before today. Is that a fair statement?
Mhm.
So, like, I'm not like none of this was again staged or anything. So,
Yeah.
I just want to understand, like, so what kind of reviews did you go on online and look for?
I just looked at Google reviews, and there was a few that were good, maybe one bad one, but
Okay.
I thought that was fair. So,
Okay, all right, gotcha. So the one bad one didn't scare you away because you saw the other good ones.
right.
Okay, how about you, sir?
same thing. I went Google reviews. I knew it was a big chain, so I'd have a ton of reviews, like thousands. So they had low 4s, so I
Okay.
kind of just assumed that was good enough for me.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, back to you, Sheryl.
All right. So we talked about, how you chose your repair shop. So let's move on to the insurance, the claims experience. So when you filed your claim, talk to me a little bit about that. Brooke, tell me a little bit when you filed your claim, what did that process look like? Was it good? Was it bad? Do you have any recommendations of how that could have gone better?
Yeah.
Or did it go great?
I remember I was really scared to make the phone call to call my insurance. And when I had called, they had transferred me, and I remember being on hold. But then once I made the claim, they gave me the claim number and said, okay, here's your next step to go get an estimate. So I felt like I had some guidance, and yeah.
So then they sent you to get an estimate.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Give
the-
me the list of all the DRP shops where I
Okay.
should.
Okay.
So did they ever ask you to submit photos of the vehicle?
They did not.
They did not. Did the
Mhm.
shop that you took it to ever ask you to submit photos of the vehicle?
Yes, the DRP shop that I did finally get into,
Right.
they took about 40 pictures of my car and submitted them.
But they didn't text you like a mobile app and ask you to take your own pictures and send them to
No, they
Okay.
did not.
Sorry to cut you off, sir.
It's okay.
No, you're good.
It's good.
So, Tim, tell me about your claims experience.
Yeah, mine was pretty simple and painless, to be honest. I go through an independent insurance agent. So I literally texted him, said, hey, I hit a deer. What do I need to do? He took some information from me and then submitted it to my actual insurance company. And then started working with the shop that I went with. So all in all, pretty easy and painless, to be honest.
And Brooke, did you have an insurance agent that you were working with, or did you work with straight with a claims? Department.
I just had a claims department I called.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And Brian, how about you?
Not sure if she was an adjuster or an agent, but it was pretty smooth communication, everything. They had me send a police report and a few pictures and things like that.
So when you sent pictures, did you send that through a mobile app that they had, or did you email those?
I think I emailed it to a link that she sent me to.
Okay. So were there any parts of the claims process that went really great, or was there anything in the claims process that you have recommendations on that could have been better?
For me, everything was great. So from step one to picking up my truck, everything went really smooth with how they handled it. Communication was great. I think it just goes to show, doing your research with insurance companies, things like that can go a long ways when it comes to actually having to file that claim.
And by the way, for any of you that are listening in right now, please don't go nowhere. We're going to play for you in a few moments a video between the shop and the insurance appraiser. I'm sorry, an audio. Recording.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I think you're going to be blown away when you hear this audio recording. So please don't go nowhere. Back to you, Sheryl.
And names were bleeped out, so
Yeah, change the
for
names.
privacy reasons. But yes, okay. And so, any recommendations that you have for insurance companies of what could have gone differently during your claims?
Yeah. So when you're
process?
keep in mind, right? Like if there's an insurance carrier watching this live broadcast, so they watch it afterwards. Is there anything you like to tell them? Any insurance company that's listening right now that you're like, I would just like to tell you this.
For me, put your customer first. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, safety is important to everybody. So things should be fixed correctly. And that's how I feel I got treated. I feel like my insurance company put me first, and that was very important to me.
Now that you got to go to a shop, you already had a shop in mind.
Correct.
And did
Yep.
and did the insurance company allow you to go to the shop that you wanted to? There were
Yep, no issues there.
Okay.
I basically told them, hey, this is where I'm taking it. And
Okay.
they were okay with it.
Okay.
So
Anything you could have insurance carriers sitting and listening to this right now.
Mhm.
What would you like to tell them?
I think I would have liked them to explain the whole process to me, because this was my first car accident, first car I've owned. I felt like I was guided with, here's your next step, but what are the steps to follow? I would have liked all that in the first phone call,
Okay.
so I could kind of plan out my whole journey.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Just piggyback on what he said. I think just putting the customer first. I felt just like another number, and that they were recommending the shop that they sent me to just because they knew it would benefit their own bottom line, rather than sending me to like a shop that they recommend based on merit and other reviews.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. So now I want to move into the actual repair experience. And I know all of you are very different on what that looked like. Brooke, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit about the repair experience for your Prius.
Yeah, my Prius, I brought it to the shop in March of 2023 and did not bring it home till November of 2024.
Wait a second. You dropped your car off. How much was the estimate?
There was multiple estimates. It started at 15,000, went to 19,000, and ended around 24,000.
24 hours over. And they start on your car in March,
March of 2023,
and you didn't get it back until when?
November of 2024. So
Wait,
that
I think everybody needs to hear this. March of 2023, and she didn't get it back until November 2024.
yes,
So that means like 18 months.
a year and 8
And,
months.
and it was a brand new car, so
Yeah.
obviously you had a car payment during this time.
I did.
What'd you do for transportation?
Thankfully, my dad had an old truck I could use. I did not have a rental car, but my dad's old truck I used with no AC in the summer.
Car was in the shop for 18. I'm saying 18 months, but
20 months.
20 months. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cheryl. I'm just
Well,
appalled by
no,
that.
and I think here's a good time to bring up, the first estimate she received from the DRP shop, is that correct?
Mhm.
$15,000.
Yeah.
I think what we as collision repair shop owners need to do is we need to make sure that our team is equipped to guide customers through this process. The estimate that Brooke received, we've received a copy of that estimate. That was a poor initial estimate. And if someone had spent some time with her at the very beginning, really looking at this vehicle, researching repair procedures, I think her experience would be a lot different.
Agreed. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. So it was there for a year and 8 months.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell me about communication during that time.
Communication was so. It started off, I wasn't expecting it to be there that long, but the parts are delayed. I accidentally ordered the wrong part. And after about 9-10 months, I started every week, I was asking what's going on. And that's when I reached out to my insurance company and I was like, I'm worried about my car being in the shop for 9 months. And they had said, there's nothing we can do about it. They're a non-DRP shop. You just have to stick it out. So then a year I called them. It's been a year and a half I called them, and there was nothing. My car was stuck. I thought about going and taking my car back,
So what was the shop saying during this whole time?
There was 1,000 excuses I could tell you, but a lot of it was the parts are on back order. OEM parts are on back order. So maybe part of that is the truth. But it ended with he had some family that was sick, so he's out of town. Just the excuses.
Excuses.
Yeah,
Wow.
a lot.
Well, I know that we talked earlier and we have failed you as an industry. in your experience. And so I'm sorry. And I appreciate that you came here today. You took time off work. You took time away from the things that you need to do to share your story. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Brian, tell us a little bit about your repair experience, because I know it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so mine, I brought
Take a step back. So what kind of
Absolutely.
damage did you have? Because yours was an accident or a vandalism claim?
vandalism.
Yeah. So what kind of damage was done to your Audi?
So the back windshield was broken in, the front windshield was smashed in. It looked like they had ran up the car because the hood had dents all over it as well. And then they tried to get into it through the side windows by hitting it with something, because there was a bunch of dings and dents on the side of it too.
Okay.
And yeah, I brought it to that big chain shop. The communication, everything was great with them. I thought everything was going smooth. And then I got it back. And the thing that she said that kind of alarmed me before I got it was that there might be a little bit of glass in there. Like, it's impossible to get every single piece out. And I never had glass break in my car before, so I kind of just assumed that was like kind of reasonable. So I was like, all right, get my car back. And then before I even like get in the car, I see glass like on the seat, like just chunks of like glass. And
You have leather
I was
interior,
like,
I'm assuming, on an Audi.
yeah, leather. So I'm picking like pieces of glass out of my car and go back to them and say like, what's up with all this glass? And they're like, well, give us like 10 minutes and we'll vacuum it up real quick for you. And there were some other things too that I could tell like just weren't right with the car. So I left there just like felt like powerless because they weren't doing anything. I was arguing with them for like 10 minutes and wasn't really getting anywhere.
And did you end up taking your car back multiple times?
No. So right when I left there and I realized they weren't going to do anything about it, I called up the shop that finally fixed my car, Dean's shop, and I was just furious on the phone, and like I just pulled out of that place, and I just wanted I just regretted not bringing it there in the first place. I picked the one place out of convenience. So he told me to just bring it by for a post repair inspection. So I brought it by, and they just picked it apart, everything that was wrong with it, and ended up leaving it there with them until eventually dealing with the insurance company to figure everything else out.
Okay, and then the shop you took it to do an inspection for you, they found multiple things wrong with it. And did you then call the shop, or did you call the insurance carrier at that point?
So I called the insurance carrier, and I left it with him to kind of figure everything else that was wrong with it out. And then when we were ready, we called the insurance company, and I told them they need to come back out and look at it. And they initially just like kind of tried to push it back onto the big chain company and told me that they were responsible for fixing everything. And I just, flipped it back on them. And so I'm like, you guys referred these people to work on my car, and the condition they give it back to me is just absurd. Like, there's glass all in the vents, and insane amount of glass in my car, and I'm not bringing it back there. So they finally ended up budging and let me leave it at the shop that
you took it to for the re-repairs.
Yeah.
And how many times did you have to take your car back?
I took it back 5 times.
And it's still not right.
Still not close to being right.
Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit about your repair experience.
Yeah. So going back to my insurance claim, I'm kind of the black sheep in the group. I'm the one that's had a pretty decent experience. So, and I've had a few different experiences with the shop that I go to. So, and all of them have run fairly smooth, but this particular one was a front bumper repair. Communication from the beginning was really, really, really good. I would get either a text message or a phone call from one of their front end managers, probably once or twice a week. We did have a small delay on parts, but it was nothing. I think it was a day or two. So nothing major on that end, but yeah, communications, I got the truck back. Everything was cleaned. It was, unlike your situation, it was vacuumed out. Like they did everything from top to bottom. So it just all around a good experience.
So what is it that we as shop owners or we as industry stakeholders could really learn from your experience of how we can make sure that that is what every customer experiences?
So communication is key. Whether good or bad, you want to know what's going on with your vehicle. Take you, for instance, you were 9 months, you hadn't heard anything. A year, you hadn't heard anything. People want to know what's going on with their car. And I truly feel like if it was the roles were reversed and it was their car coming in, how would they want to be treated? And I feel like some places forget about that. Like we're a customer. We want a good experience. They want more business. We're not going to give more business or tell people to go to other shops if it's a poor experience. So I think that's, the face of the customers. I mean, that's a big part of it. And I think a lot of places, insurance companies included, need to remember that is put your customer first, do things how you want. It goes back to, what did we learn when we were in kindergarten? Treat other people how you want to be treated. It's the same in this industry. I would hope. And that's how I feel I get treated, is I feel like I get treated like family, which is great. It's a good feeling to have. And I think that's something all shops can learn from.
So it sounds like communication, being kept informed, were something that you really appreciated about the shop that you
100%.
chose, that you had a positive experience.
Yeah,
with.
I mean, to the point where I don't have to call them to get an update. They're reaching out to me to give me an update.
Sure.
That's important.
So just real quickly for all three of you. So communication is very, very important to you from a collision repair. Is that important to you as well?
Yes.
100%, because you had yours in there for over a year and a half and no communication. Is communication important to you?
The company I use knocked the communication out of the park, so I would have rather had a better end result and not heard anything for 2 weeks and then just got my car back fixed.
Sure.
But I mean, I'd say
Communicated well, but they fell short of the quality of the product.
Yeah.
So what's your preferred method of communication? Is it text, email, phone call?
Honestly, I'll take anything. Text message is just going to be easier. But text message to me, when things are going great, is good. But let's say there's a back order on a part, then a phone call is nice so I can talk to somebody. It's a little bit more personable.
Okay.
Is kind of how I feel about it. So, hey, your car's done, whatever, text message is fine. Give me a call if the parts are on back order, if you run into another issue. That way we can discuss the next option.
Sure. What do you prefer? Text, email, or phone call?
Text I see the quickest, but phone call to explain more. I would like more phone calls.
Okay.
Too.
So text updates, but maybe sprinkle it with some phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, sir?
I would say phone calls. I definitely don't prefer like text or email. Just can kind of get lost in the mix with that. So
I think the real important message to anybody listening to this podcast is that, we see a lot of industry pundits and a lot of companies, right, that say, this customer prefers this or this. But it sounds like to me like we have to ask the customer, right? Like, what's your preferred method of communication? Because text with some voicemails and then or phone calls, and he prefers phone calls. So I think we have to ask the customer, right, Sheryl?
Absolutely. And we have to remember what John Gordon says, where there is no communication, negativity always fills the void.
Amen.
And so we always want to make sure that we're being proactive. We're over communicating with our customers 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I want to now shift into going and talking about what went wrong. So Tim, we want to hear from you what went right, but
Sure.
right now we're going to focus on, what went wrong? And I know Brooke and Brian, in your experience, things went wrong. So if we could share.
Can we share the PowerPoint, please, our behind the scenes team? And I've got the estimate here on my phone on Brooks Toyota.
Okay.
So Sheryl, go ahead.
Absolutely. So Brooke, these are pictures of your vehicle repaired now. So tell me a little bit about, I know you're working with a second shop now.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
And Sheryl, if you give me just a moment for our
Absolutely.
listeners, can I just review the estimate real quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
So it looks like, again, this was a 2018 Toyota Prius. Let's see. Looks like I got a new bumper cover without parking sensors. It looks like it got a left bumper cover bracket. Got some retainers. They got a reconditioned right headlight. a brand new OEM left headlight, an OEM right fender, an OEM left fender, which is kind of concerning to me that it got a brand new OEM fender, but we're seeing rust there on the fender. We'll get back to that in a minute. A new fender, it looks like they removed the splash shields. Did get some new nameplates, reconditioned wheels, which is concerning to me. So 4 reconditioned wheels, all 4 wheels it says got replaced. 4-wheel alignment, some wheel covers. Looks like it got some windshield moldings, some drip rail moldings, or actually they just R&I'd those. Looks like they R&I'd the rocker molding. They replaced the right rocker molding. They put a used door on it, 2 used doors, a used left front door and a used right front door. Wow. A used right rear door, and repaired the quarter panel for 10 hours, the left quarter panel, and got a new rear bumper cover. And I'm more concerned with what is I don't see that's on this estimate and what's missing off this estimate as opposed to what's on the estimate. But go ahead, Sheryl.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how did you start working with the second shop?
The second shop, I get my car back after going back and forth 5 times. Finally, I do not trust this shop. I don't want them touching my car anymore. So I spent hours researching shops in my area because I don't trust my insurance company and friends and family. And that is how I finally found a great shop. I think I found the best shop in Minnesota, and I'm so thankful for. We can't say shop names on here, but I give them a shout out. And that the owner of that shop took my car and noticed what safety procedures that was not on the estimate. They helped walk me through what the shop did not do, because the shop never did anything that had to do with my safety. I think that was the biggest thing of what went wrong. Like, I don't feel the safest in my car.
So understand this. So you took it to a shop.
Mm-hmm.
That shop was not a DRP. But somebody you chose because based on reviews and things like that, and
Yeah.
somebody on Facebook recommended them. It was there for over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You took it back 5 times, weren't happy with it, and then you found another shop and you said, "Hey, can you help me? Can you look at it?"
Yeah.
You took it to that shop, and that shop then started pointing out things to you that were of concern. Is that accurate?
Yes, very
Okay.
accurate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what about safety inspections? So Mike, can you talk to that
Yeah.
a little bit about what you don't
Yeah,
see?
so I'm looking
on
at this estimate as Toyota Prius. First of all, what really concerns me is they don't even have on this estimate to disconnect the battery before they work on the vehicle. And we know you got to disconnect the battery before you ever remove or disconnect any electrical components. Number 2, they don't have any procedures that would be required when you reconnected the battery. Normally, like one-touch features were like in your vehicles where you press the button on the window and the window goes all the way down. Another thing that really concerns me on this is based on the year of this vehicle, that it actually says on this specific Toyota that you need to inspect the SRS components, right? Supplemental restraint systems. That's your airbags, your seat belts, your airbag sensors. So on this vehicle, like the airbags should have been removed. They should have been inspected. The sensors should have been removed. They should have been inspected. And that is not on this estimate. There's no cavity wax to apply anywhere at all. There's no gravel guard. I mean, there's just numerous things on this estimate that are missing that are required for safe and proper repair. Again, it's very concerning to me, and we'll look at some of the photos here. If we can go back there just a little bit, Sheryl.
Yeah.
I thought we'd seen previously some photos of the doors where like it called for used doors,
Yeah.
and they put a used door on the vehicle, and the used door obviously had been replaced by someone else previously because they had not seam sealed the door. So the used door was actually a door that had been replaced on a wrecked vehicle, and they had not even seam sealed that component. So again, I could go on and on and on here with things that they're missing. But what's really concerning to me is that your General Motors vehicle, your Toyota vehicle, and your Audi vehicle all have procedures that say safety inspections required after the vehicle's been in a collision or an accident. Again, things like seatbelt inspections. General Motors even has where in some instances you have to remove the dash, you have to inspect the dash carrier. You might have to measure the steering column. So there's a lot of things, but none of those safety inspections. And again, was your vehicle was it an accident, correct?
Mhm.
So it wasn't an accident. Look, I don't care who you are. If you're an insurance company, a body shop, and you're like, well, I don't know if these safety inspections are necessary or not. I get it when you're questioning those on a bumper cover, but this vehicle got 4 doors and a major repair on a quarter panel. I do not think that is a minor accident, not to mention the number of one-time use parts like door vapor barriers and things of that nature. So, Sheryl, a big F. I know what some of y'all thinking that F stands for. Some of y'all think that F stands for something, right? But hey, we on something that kids can be watching right here. But that's a big F on safety inspections in regards to her shop and in regards to the repairs they did. So they failed you, ma'am, and I am so sorry for that.
Thank you.
And so you're talking about one-time use parts, right?
Yes.
So the shop that she took her vehicle to, they sent something to us, and I want to play a short audio if I could for you.
Yeah. So can I just say, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Sheryl. My Tourette's is kicking in. I'm gonna start twitching here in a minute, man. See my neck twitching? So, most, if not all OEMs have some type of verbiage or symbols to educate you in the electronic service manual as to if a component or a part is a one-time use part. And Toyota, Lexus actually use a symbol of a black dot. So they have a symbol of a black dot. Anytime you see a symbol of a black dot, Toyota, Lexus says that part needs to be replaced. So the shop that this young lady took her car to after the fact, right, reached out to that insurance carrier, I believe, and said, hey, there's some things this other shop did not do properly. And one of those things is they did not replace some of the one-time use parts where Toyota says a black dot, you must replace these parts. And the shop that she took it to, that she's in good hands with now, they recorded this conversation. Now, we removed the insurance carrier's name from this, but if you're an OEM, you're an insurance company, I want you to listen. This is, I swear, man, this makes my Tourette's twitch. Sheryl, let's just go to the next, click to the next slide. Let's click it again and it should play. Listen to this, y'all.
So things like if there's one-time use parts that weren't accounted for by terms on the claim, are those not given any consideration as far as?
That would not, because even though it says one-time use, sometimes you can still use them, so no, nothing with that either.
That is from an insurance appraiser.
Interesting stance.
Interesting stance. Interesting my push, right? I mean, I want to ask that lady, are you smoking crack? Because you've got to have a drug problem to be doing something like that. That's all I'm going to say, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, that one-time use, like, I mean, if you're an insurer and you're listening to this, please talk to your staff appraisers. One-time use means one time. I'm sorry, Sheryl. Just take it. Take it away, Sheryl.
Absolutely. And you're right. One-time use parts are one-time use parts. And so thank you. Thank you again for being here, because I think this is such an impactful conversation that we're having for every single stakeholder in our industry to hear from our customers and their experience. I mean, it is overwhelming being in an accident. And especially we do this every day, our customers do not. And so we want to make sure that not only are we equipped, our teams are equipped, every stakeholder in this industry is equipped to create not only extraordinary experiences, but deliver safe and proper repairs. So thank you, Brooke, for sharing some of what went wrong. And I know we didn't get to everything.
And I want you to, Brooke, that on behalf of our Collision Ice team, we're going to personally get involved in this for you. And we are going to actually deal with this shop for you, right? We're going to get involved. We're going to deal with this shop with you. You have my word on that. And we're going to make sure that this is made right. Because, ladies and gentlemen, here's the reality. She's still driving around in a vehicle that hasn't had the seatbelts inspection. She's still driving around a vehicle that hasn't had the airbags inspected. She's still driving around in a vehicle where her new fender has not been painted properly, and now the paint's chipping off, and now it's rusty, right? This young lady deserves better than that, and we're going to do everything we can at Collision Advice to help you with that, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
So, Brian, I want to talk a little bit about what went wrong on your experience, but we do have a video from the shop, the second shop that you went to, that I'd like to play if that's okay.
Yeah, if I can, real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brian took his car to a national chain based on an insurance company recommendation. They were a DRP shop. He picked it up, glass everywhere, wasn't happy with it. He chose to take it then to a gentleman by the name of Dean Massanemi and his family business in New Jersey, who's not a DRP shop for any insurance carrier. And you took your Audi there for them to see if they could help you with this poor experience you'd had. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, correct.
And Dean is in this video, and we're going to ask now the people working behind the scenes, could you please play this video? Now, this is about 3 or 4 minutes long, ladies and gentlemen. This Dean Massanemi in New Jersey owns a shop called Autotech.
Had his car vandalized where someone ran up his hood, stepped on his front windshield, smashed it in, vandalized the side of his car, and busted out his back glass. There's glass everywhere in the car. His insurance company referred him to one of their referral shops, big chain all around here. They did an 8-hour repair to his hood, which is horrendous. The thing's wavy as all hell. It's a mess. There's still dents in it. They painted over this giant crater here. The paint's already starting to fail and crack, and literally the guy drove right from the body shop to our shop and dropped it off because he was so unhappy with the repair that he got. Besides the normal dirt and the paint, the clear's running off the edges. It's all heavy hanging off the edges. Like I say, the paint's splitting and cracking. There's still dents and waviness all over the place. There's actually glass down inside the customer's vents. They have hard tape lines everywhere, dirt in the paint everywhere. The color match isn't good. They left the quarter glass in when they painted it. Again, hard tape lines instead of doing a uniside like they should have done. There's dents in the quarter still. There's all hard tape lines back here. The trunk lid's a mess as far as dirt and paint and waviness. They actually chipped up the paint, putting the tail light in, and there's still damage that they missed, scratches and things on the other side, but that's actually not the worst of it. This back glass was blown out. When this was taken to the shop, it was right before, probably a day or two before, a snowstorm came. They never bothered to cover the car up, and we usually put collision wrap on there, which covers everything. They let it sit outside. The pictures the shop gave the customer, it rained first before it snowed, and there's actually snow inside the customer's car that they just let in there. And that's even not the worst of it, but when you look in this customer's car with a flashlight, it lights up like a disco ball. There's literally glass everywhere. There's glass loaded in his trunk. There's glass on his seats, in the center console, down in his dashboard, in his vents, all on his floor and his seat tracks. This car 100% should have been totaled, and they should have never let this guy drive out. And they said to him, you might see a little glass in your car. There's glass up in his sunroof. You can hear it crunching when the sunroof goes back. This thing is a total disaster. And this customer trusted this shop and his insurance company to do the right thing and send him to the right place. And instead of totaling the guy's car because of the safety reasons, they tried to make a quick job out of it and make a mess of it and let the guy drive away with an unsafe vehicle that's totally loaded with glass. This is completely unacceptable.
So
You can unshare the PowerPoint now, and we'll go back to showing everybody that's on the panel discussion here. Thanks.
So you went straight from the one shop to the shop that you had experiences with before, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And from what I understand, after talking with Dean and watching the video, also there were glass all in the car. I mean, he talked about the flashlight and it just lit up. Glass in the vents also, right?
Yeah, that was like the most alarming thing. The first thing he pointed out, like that probably could have ended up the worst, is if I just turned the AC or the heat on the way over, and he said it, would have just blew shards of glass in your eyes because the front windshield splinters and turns into shards. So there's just shards all in the dashboard. And I kind of had a feeling that's why I brought it there, because I knew if I was able to just see a little piece on the seat that was like the size of a pebble, that there was probably like just loads more glass that I couldn't see. And I knew Dean would know where to look for it. So, yeah.
So for everyone watching today, whether today or later after the fact, imagine putting a friend or a family member in a vehicle that has glass, that if they turn on that heat or that AC, wherever you are in the country, that is going to come spraying out at them. That's what we're talking about.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Or it could have gotten embedded in like the webbing of the seatbelt and things of that nature, right? But I mean, again, I don't know. Do you have any children or any small children? Or anything
No,
like
I
that?
don't. But yeah, it could have been a pretty bad situation.
Right,
If I did.
100%, 100%.
And so tell me a little bit about what happened once you took it to the second shop.
So I brought it to the second shop. Still just fuming like on the way over there, and like as soon as I got there, I knew that I brought it to the right place because he was just picking it apart like he did in the video, in person. And I knew that shop from previous years when my dad used to go there. I had brought a car there in the past, and yeah, I just had regretted not taking it there in the first place, but it was a huge relief when I got there and I knew that it sounded like he was going to help me sort everything out and deal with the insurance company. So I felt like relief when I finally left his shop.
So what happened with when you contacted the insurance company and how did it end?
So he told me not to like sound the alarm bells off at first. We kind of want to just like gather everything, figure out the full picture of like everything that went wrong and everything that the big shop messed up on, just to kind of collect all the evidence. And then once we get everything and figure out how messed up this car is, we're gonna you'll call the insurance company back. He kind of warned me too that they would deflect it and they would try to give me some resistance, which is exactly what happened. They tried to get me to bring it back to the big shop. So, I mean, I was kind of ready for that because he told me that was going to happen, and I just kept putting it back on them and fighting with them. And then after that phone call, probably about like 10 minutes later, I guess the adjuster had talked to somebody else or ran it up to a higher level. She called me back with like a completely different tone and was like, "I'm so sorry, everything, that happened to your car." Like she kind of realized how bad it was. And then she was like, "We're going to send someone out there right away. Like they're going to be there tomorrow to check your car out again. I'm sorry."
And so when they got out there, what did they do from there?
So they checked it out with the shop owner, and the shop owner told me he wasn't even really there for that long. It was like probably like 10 minutes until, they kind of just realized that they have to total this car. And so that's what they ended up doing in the end, total and everything.
So your vehicle ended up being a total loss.
Yep. Yeah, they totaled it and paid me out on it.
Okay. So your claim got resolved.
Yes.
But your claim did not, right?
Correct.
Right. And so, Mike has committed that Collision Advice will be there for you to walk you through with the other shop that you're working with.
I'm very thankful.
So I want to move through, what went wrong to now really talking about, talk to us about the CSI surveys and online surveys. So I know a lot of stakeholders in our industry send out surveys. So whether it's the shop, the insurance company, the rental car company. So Tim, did you receive multiple surveys after your repair?
I think I received one or two, one from rental car. I can't remember if I received any more than that or not. I know rental cars have.
Did you fill it out?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I don't think I did.
Did you give the shop, have you ever given the shop any online reviews?
Honestly, I don't know if I have.
Okay.
It's a good question. I don't remember if I have or not. They deserve one,
Okay.
but I don't know if I've actually given one or not.
Okay.
I'd have to look back and check.
So, Brooke, what about you? Did you receive multiple surveys or any surveys from whether the insurance company, the rental car company? Well, you weren't in a rental car, right?
No.
Okay. So from the shop or the insurance company?
I did not, and I had to look up what is a CSI survey because I'd never heard of it. I did not get asked any survey.
Okay. And what about you?
I got at least like 2 surveys, I think, from the bigger shop that messed my car up. I don't think I filled it out just because it didn't feel like it was going to do anything. I think I gave them a pretty honest review, and then I gave a pretty big review to the shop that helped me out in the end to fix the situation too.
Okay. Right.
No, I just wanted to say, like, switching over because I heard you say rental car. Were you in a rental car during your repair process?
Yeah. Yep.
Were you in a rental?
No.
No, because that's what you said. You said use your dad's truck. Yeah. Were you in a rental?
I had a rental, yeah.
Yeah. And how was your rental car experience?
It was all right. I drive a pickup truck. They gave me a pickup truck, but I couldn't tow anything with it. So
Yeah. Okay.
it was okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
It was okay.
All right. How about you?
I was pretty good until I ended up having to turn it in when I picked my car up. So in between when I brought it to the new shop and was waiting for them to total it, I was out of a car for about a week. So
Okay.
I would have liked them to see them like reimburse me for that time or something, but it ended up.
Now
okay.
you said your vehicle's a total, so the insurance company is totaling it, taking possession of it. It's not like the other shop's buying it back. Is that correct?
I'm not sure how that actually played out,
Okay.
whether it went one way or the other.
All right. Just if I may ask a couple questions,
course.
Cheryl. So one of the things, like, it sounds like you were somewhat knowledgeable between OEM and aftermarket parts. Did you know the difference? Did you even know what the term OEM means prior to all of this? Did you know what the term OEM meant?
Yes.
You
Yeah, I
did.
did.
Did you
Yep.
know?
I did not, but my boyfriend explained it to me and said you
Okay.
only want OEM parts.
The boyfriend's over there. So
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. And did you know the difference between OEM and
Yeah.
aftermarket?
Yep.
So when you're in an accident, how important is it to you to get OEM parts versus aftermarket?
It's important to me. The truck was maybe about a year old at the point when I hit the deer. So getting OEM parts was definitely important.
And now that you're educated, what's your thoughts on that?
I definitely think there should only be OEM parts if a car is newer. Yeah.
Right? Okay. And how about yourself?
Yeah, I would definitely prefer the OEM parts too.
Yeah. Now, an insurance carrier, and I'm not bashing them or being mean spirited. They're going to say, well, if every car got all OEM parts, it's going to drive up the price of insurance premiums, right? But do you feel as a consumer that at least somebody should sit and have a conversation with you and educate you about that? Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, definitely.
And what about your thoughts?
For sure. Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to shift gears, if I may, Cheryl, and I want to talk again about these safety inspections, right? So, like, obviously, were you wearing your seatbelt when you had your accident?
Yes.
And how about you?
Yep.
And yours was vandalized, so no seatbelt.
Mhm.
But how important is it to you that the shop that repaired your vehicle actually inspected the seatbelts?
I did not think about that until right now, but that would be very important.
So I'm going to ask all of you a question. So the reality is that you have shops that want to do the right thing, right? But then you have insurance carriers that may say, well, we're not paying for these things. And then if a shop goes and wants to do the right thing, then they're going to be painted or portrayed as the bad party from the insurance carrier. Not all insurance carriers, I'm just saying some, right?
Mhm.
And then the shop is going to have to come to you and say, look, you'd have to pay out of pocket. What advice would you have for a collision repair person on how they could best educate or win a customer over that? Let's say the insurance company only wanted to pay for aftermarket parts, or the insurance company didn't want to pay to have the seatbelts inspected. Like, what would your advice be to the shop on how they could, again, approach a customer and say, hey, Mr. Brian, would you be willing to pay the difference for this in a way that wouldn't scare you off, alienate you, or that you would be interested?
I think we're having technical difficulties.
Did we lose something? I'm sorry. Is everybody still there? I'm hoping everybody can still hear us at least. So at the end of the day, how can a shop best approach you guys as a consumer to have that conversation? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess just honesty, like instead of trying to just hide the fact that they're not using OEM parts or just like putting used parts in there or whatever, just kind of sitting down and being honest, and just letting someone know what it's going to cost if they do have to pay a little bit extra for the OEM parts.
Okay. And what would your advice be on how a shop could approach a consumer?
I think explain to me the why, because like nobody wants to throw out extra money, but if it's my safety feature and I'm going to have the car another 10, 15 years and it really matters, I will pay the money to make sure my seatbelt works and the air belt bags work. I would.
Okay. And how about you, sir?
Absolutely. Just to piggyback off what they're saying, just open and honest communication about it. Here's what insurance is willing to pay for. Here's what they're not willing to pay for. how can we come to an agreement to make it work and make it be safe for everybody? Because at the end of the day, I have kids that ride in the back. Safety is very important to me. So, just that open line of communication with them, explaining it in honesty.
Okay. All right, sure.
Well, so I know we've talked about a lot today. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to communicate, whether to shop owners, whether to insurers, whether to, manufacturers, whether Toyota, GM, Audi? Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to communicate with our industry?
Sure.
I was trying to think of a solution for all of this, and I think if there could be, I don't quite understand because I'm not a car girl, but why every shop, all the estimates are written differently. Why don't all the shops and insurance companies agree on one thing? I would like to see more of every shop can compare to an estimate with OEM parts versus not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Sheryl, I think in the essence of time, we're probably going to have to take and move into some of our questions. So first of all, we obviously couldn't even scratch the surface today for what you all have been through. I'm really glad to hear that you got to go to a shop you chose.
Yep.
Insurance company paid for it, and you got OEM parts, and you had a great experience.
Right.
I'm really sorry, Brooke, for what you've gone through. They had your car for over a year and a half. Wasn't fixed properly even after all that time, and you're driving around with an unsafe repair, but we're committed to get involved. We're going to help you with that.
Thank you.
And I'm really sorry to hear, Brian, that you, again, took it to someone you thought could be trusted, that your insurance company referred you to, had a bad experience. It sounds like they've made whole on that now, and they've totaled the vehicle. My worst concern is that another consumer buys your vehicle, even though they totaled it, and then they're going to end up with all the negative things, right? Also, to ask you a question, has that changed your impression of an Audi at all? Like, did you buy another car already?
I'm in the process of buying another car.
Are you buying another Audi?
No.
All right. You have a Toyota. Has this impacted your opinion of Toyota because of the poor experience you've had?
Ooh, I mean, I love the Priuses. I will forever love the Priuses, but it does seem like Toyota has more in-depth procedures and protocols than other manufacturers. So that is a good question.
Okay. So it remains to be seen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't thank you all enough, Sheryl. You did an amazing job. And again, we only scratched the surface on this. So again, attendees, and for all of our listeners today, we're in Minnesota. These three awesome, incredible people are actually going to be participating in a live discussion tomorrow with us in front of 282 people. So tomorrow we're having our Collision Advice Spartan Symposium. We have 14 OEMs, we have 6 insurers, and we've got about 40 vendors. And these three incredible consumers are going to be sharing their stories on a stage tomorrow with OEMs and insurers and other collision repairers, so their message can get out. And we're committed to helping them. But again, I know we're having some technical issues. So with that said, let's see if we can actually go to some of our questions. So for the team working behind the scenes, do you have the ability to play the actual question that you had in regards to somebody that had submitted a question in advance? And let's see if you can play that. And we have
hi, Mike. Congratulations on your show. And I know you're going to do a great job. You have a lot of information to share with our industry, and we do thank you for all that you do. Great question for us on OEM certifications. When do you see or have an idea that the OEM certifications are going to become more important? The way we see them in our area, the dealers have no knowledge and no interest. The manufacturers put them out there, but they have no direct contact with the vehicle owner. We don't see the value in we enjoy the information, we enjoy the education, we enjoy the status symbol of being a OEM certified collision center. But when do you see it really sinking in and that you can honestly say that it's a real value to a collision repair shop. I get asked that all the time from my staff here. I get asked that almost every day from my son. So I thought I would put that out there and see if you can share a few thoughts on that. And thank you again.
So first of all, thank you so much for submitting this question in advance via video. So to summarize the question was, Mike, when are OEM certifications going to start paying off? At least that's what I think I heard you say. So let me start off by saying this. Number one, I know that the OEMs, some are coming out with some really, really good things. GM's got their accident assistant app. I spoke about that at SEMA, and I've heard that that's really getting traction. I do know of a shop, matter of fact, Dean Massanemi, who you took your Audi to help you find all the issues that you were having. I spoke to Dean Massanemi, and he just got Lexus certified and said he just got his first referral from the Lexus network. I can tell you that BMW is rolling out an accident assistant app that all consumers will be able to see and get work driven to them and referred to them from consumers for BMW certified collision centers. And I know Honda and Acura, from what I've been told, are going to be announcing the same thing in June. So I believe, unfortunately, not all OEM certifications are created equal. That's number one. Number two, I believe there are many OEMs that restrict part sales, such as your European manufacturers like Audi. BMW now restricts both steel and aluminum. And then you have your electric vehicle manufacturers like Lucid, Rivian, et cetera. So I believe that really the question you asked, when do I think the certifications are going to start paying off? I think a lot of it depends on which OEM certifications you have. Not all OEM certifications are created equal. Some bring more value than others, specifically those with the restricted parts. But again, if we look at something like Lexus, which is not a restricted part sale, we're starting to see through like Toyota and Lexus Safety Connect and Service Connect, especially through Safety Connect, they have the ability to start, getting customers to your door. So I believe that we're finally, I think back to when Kristen Felder from Collision Hub made a video many, many years ago about, like somebody being in an accident and telematics, et cetera. Well, I believe that we're really now starting to scratch the door or scratch the floor on that. And I think that door is now cracked open, and you're going to start seeing a whole lot more OEM referrals coming as a result of being a certified shop. So I say, don't give up, continue to wait. I will also tell you that when you ask me about OEM certifications, there's one word that really comes to mind, and that is the word subscriptions, right? And what I mean by that is that today's consumers want a personalized experience, and they want to be able to subscribe to certain features on their vehicle. And I just saw a few weeks ago in Automotive News, it's projecting now that the subscription revenue for OEMs is now predicted to be in the trillions of dollars, not the billions, the trillions of dollars by 2030. So I think the door is open. I would say don't give up, hang in there, and I believe you're going to start to reap the benefits of that. With that said, Sheryl, what other questions do we have?
Yeah, so we have a few other questions that have come in beforehand. So let me start there, then I'll jump over to the live questions. So a question from Dave said, hey, Mike, your podcasts are great. I'm sure you've touched on this 1,000 times, but please touch on how using OEM parts over non-OE affects ADAS calibration and the safety of the vehicle. I'm sure the vehicle will calibrate with non-OE parts, but I got to think the calibration using aftermarket parts and glass will not live up to the OEM standards.
Yeah, so I'll give you a very good example, right? So the question that was asked by Dave, and Dave, thanks for your question, is, has there been any data, any discussions, any conversations in regards to aftermarket parts and their impact on ADAS? I'll give you one very specific one. This was a consumer that I know of that lived in another state, and they reached out to me and they said, I have a Honda, and I had the windshield replaced on my Honda, and the camera has gone bad, the forward-facing camera in the windshield, and the insurance company is saying that I need to pay out of pocket for that. Well, what we found out was the aftermarket windshield that was installed did not have the right tinting protection on there for UV, and it actually was causing the camera to overheat, the forward-facing camera in the windshield to actually overheat, and that's what burned up the camera. So it was actually a direct result of that vehicle not having an OEM part put in there. I can also tell you that I've seen instances where bumper covers were installed on vehicles and they were repaired, or the bumper cover actually was replaced with a reconditioned bumper. And I can tell you factually that I've seen that impact the ability of the blind spot monitor to work properly. So Dave, in regards to your question, we at Collision Advice, I won't say I hear of something daily, but I would say at least 2 to 3 times a month that I'm hearing a story of where somebody installed an aftermarket part and it negatively impacted the ability of the ADAS components to absolutely work properly.
Thanks, Mike. The next one is from Ryan. What are your thoughts on small independent one-man shops versus big shops as far as profits? Also, not DRP. To me, it seems like my situation is I'm one man in my own little shop and feel my profit could equal the same as big shop if comparing the actual numbers after bills and cost monthly.
Yeah, so I don't believe that. Let me just back up. I think when you look at profits, you have to ask yourself, am I looking at profits as a percentage or profits as a dollar amount, right? Like I know of a gentleman that does $200,000 a month in sales. He is located in the state of Illinois. And I will tell you, he makes more net profit after he pays all of his bills than clients of mine that are doing $1 million a month, right? So absolutely. Do I believe that a 1 or 2 person shop could be as profitable as a shop that's doing, $1 million a month? From a percentage standpoint, absolutely. Dollars, per month, again, it's going to just vary based on the types of vehicles that shop fixes. I think the other thing too is that, you have to do a certain amount of sales just to be able to invest in the training and equipment to stay relevant. And there's a lot of other factors there too, like your rent and things of that nature. But back to your question, Sheryl, in case you have to reread the question, but can a smaller shop make as much money as a larger shop?
Yeah.
Percentage wise, absolutely. Dollars, all things are relative, right? But I would say the answer is yes. I can tell you some of the most profitable shops that I personally work with are smaller shops. I see that sometimes the larger people they're trying to just make it off of volume. And what they do is the larger that the shop is, they tend to, take their eye off the ball and start to have, maybe not as, maximizing their profits on paint materials or things of that nature. So I would say yes, yes, and yes. Quite honestly, I see some smaller shops that are 2 to 3 times more profitable than larger shops. So in that case, the size or the volume of the shop, it doesn't matter. Now, again, maybe some people are trying to make it on economies of scale, but 1-to-1, absolutely, you can best their best.
Thank you. We've got another one. This one from Robbie Wyndham. It says, hi, Mike. It's Robbie Wyndham, Wyndham Body Shop. I've been in the industry for 34 years, and I'm very proud to be fortunate enough to be a Spartan, tip of the spear. We were a DRP shop for many years and recently moved away from all DRPs, obtained several OEM certifications. We get a ton of pushback from the insurance companies about procedures we follow because the OEM says it is their required method of repair. It has gone to the extent that they have red flagged us, meaning they have different dialect with customers who choose us for their repairs, expressing to them that if they use us, they will have out-of-pocket expenses and a more difficult time to get repairs done and will likely run out of rental due to choosing us for repairs. So we have one company sending out letters stating that we charge for unnecessary operations, among other things. This is very frustrating and damaging to our business and reputation. We only want to do the repairs safely, keep our customers informed about how their vehicles are being repaired, and be able to maintain a cordial relationship with the third-party payers. What are best practices for stopping the insurance companies from misleading our customers and communicating with us in a timely manner to reduce cycle times?
Yeah, so wow, that's a lot to unpack there, Robbie, but I love and appreciate you, brother. I think I had to go back to what Brian said earlier, and he said, man, you just got to educate the consumer, like have that conversation. What Brooke said, like, don't come at it from a high level, right? But explain to them why and explain to them the importance. At least I believe that's what I heard her say. So I think, Robbie, the answer lies in getting the consumer involved. And when I think about like time as a triangle, if you can see me in the camera, think about this at the top is like 5 minutes of time, and this down at the bottom is like 50 minutes of time. I think most people only spend 5 to 10 to 15 minutes with that customer at the beginning of the interaction with them when they come to the shop. I think you got to flip that triangle back upside down, and you got to spend more time with that customer at the top. And I've been saying this for years. I just think we've got to get that customer on our side, Robbie. We've got to educate them. And I think there's ways to educate them, right? Make it so you're educating them with, I know like Andrew, who is with the BMW dealership out in California. I know like, steering gears having to be replaced from BMW. That's a big friction point. Well, what he's done is he's put a sales prop in his office where he has a steering gear assembly, and he has it like a cutaway on it, so he can explain to the consumers why this needs to be done. I also know some other shops that actually have aftermarket versus OEM parts, and they actually do and spend the time with that customer. But again, we've got to have somebody knowledgeable in the front office staff that can educate the consumer. The other thing I would say is I'll never like scare a customer off on the phone. I'm always want to get them in my shop, get them in the door, sell them on my processes and things of that nature. Now, let's go back to your other question, which is the steering by the insurance companies or them making derogatory remarks about your business. I think that's where, again, get as many good online reviews as you can. I also believe that, I hate to say it, there's good body shop. You just heard there's good body shops. He had one, and there's 2 bad body shops. But there's also good insurance companies and there's bad insurance carriers. But I think when you have an insurance carrier that is blatantly making derogatory comments about you, that you need to make sure that you're going to get that consumer involved and make it easy with the insurance commissioner. The other thing I would say is, again, right to appraisal. I said this in our very first podcast that when it comes to Rhode Island, the thing I love most about their state is the right to appraisal arbitration clause is for insureds and claimants, no matter what insurance carrier. And we know that some of your carriers, specifically, I believe, State Farm and Progressive, have removed that language in a lot of the states. So, Robbie, I think it's educating the consumer, but I also think, Robbie, it comes to having a strong association where you get good legislation passed.
Well, thank you. We have one more question that came in beforehand, then we'll jump over to the chat. Junior submitted a question: with the proliferation of ADAS systems and even the most economical of cars, where do you see the collision repair in the next 5 years? It is my belief that repairs will be limited to severe damage resulting in total losses.
Yeah, so I believe that however backlog your shop is right now, that's the new norm. Unless you're like in Nebraska or Indiana where they had a hailstorm, right? That's the exception to the rule. I believe that ADAS is having an impact. I believe that as we have newer vehicles on the road over the last few years, new car sales have increased, and that's caused you just to have more vehicles that have ADAS. So that is creating less accidents. The other thing I will say is that, this whole where, companies have the return to office where everybody has to go back and work in the office. They can't work remotely from home. What I have understand from reading all the data that I've read and researched is that ADAS works much better when we're in congested traffic. When we have a lot of traffic, like more and more traffic, that's where actually when ADAS is more effective. And what happens is that prevents accidents, right? Where ADAS isn't as effective is that when you don't have as much traffic and accidents are driven at a higher rate of speed, and thus that does result in total losses. So I think that, I don't think we're going to go back to those days that we had coming out of COVID where body shops had a ton of work. I think this is the new norm. Get used to it, right size your business, and start making the best decisions based on what your account is now. Now, the other side of that argument is that as long as the guy next door or girl next door has cars on their lot to fix, you can't use that as an excuse. You just got to figure out, how do I get more of those consumers on your lot? So maybe that's something you need to think about as well. Last but not least, I think it's going to be very interesting with the tariffs that the current administration is rolling out. If we see new car prices increase, then that will drive up the price of of used vehicles. Then you'll see that actually will lower the amount of total losses. However, what I've heard is that some OEM manufacturers are saying that they're going to kind of hold the line and not pass those costs on to the consumer. But if the tariffs, in fact, increase the value or the cost of a new vehicle, then what's going to happen is used vehicles, what they're worth will increase, and then that will lower total losses. But again, with the calibrations, the price of components, Also, the price of salvage went up so high. I do believe you're going to continue to see total losses increase. So that would be my answer to that question.
So we're 20 minutes over, but I want to pull one question from the chat, if that's okay.
Please.
So from Jace, he says, how can shops help educate customers on the importance of safety inspections in a collision? A life should not be at risk over a price tag.
I 100% agree. I think the number one thing I would do is when a vehicle came in and I wrote an estimate on it and I felt it needed safety inspection, I would first of all submit that through iCar's website, and I would get a response back from iCar documenting that indeed does need to be done. Number two, most, if not all, your OEM websites will have a way for you to submit an inquiry. For example, I know in Toyota, Lexus, TIS, there is something up in the top right corner that allows you to submit a question. Nissan allows you to do that. Volkswagen, you can through Irwin. Submit a question to the OEM. Number three, what I would do is I would really research so you understand the reason those inspections need to be done, like the history of collapsible steering columns, right? And what I would do is I would make it a really critical, I would try to have some props, like have maybe a steering column. I'm using that as an example, a steering gear assembly, an airbag, have some props in your office. What's it saying? A picture's worth 1,000 words. So find some actual props that you can utilize to educate the vehicle owner with. And I think that's really what it's going to take. I think it's also important to educate your local service department. So should they get a phone call, they'll also be aware of that. But I agree with you. We cannot sacrifice safety for price. And I think at the end of the day, again, do open houses for consumer groups, legislators, and just blow up iCar's website with that. I think that would be the first step.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you what, we don't get these technical issues right soon. I don't know. I'm going to have to do something crazy. I don't know what, but please bear with us. We're going to continue to work through those. Every one that we've done so far has been different where we're at and multiple microphones, etc. But I just want you to know, we really appreciate you. Again, if I did not get to your questions, please let me know and reach out to me. Now, for the people behind the scenes, could you possibly share the PowerPoint, please, that shows when in your screen that actually shows when our next podcast is going to be. Our next podcast is going to be May 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to attack all of this hoopla around scanning. I'm going to talk about OEM versus aftermarket scan tools. I'm going to talk about what are the steps to scanning, like hooking up battery support and how long. We're going to talk all things scanning. I'm going to discuss the whole Aztec Geico thing. I'm going to discuss the Opus State Farm thing that's going on. No question will be off topics. Somebody told me recently, Mike, you got to quit sitting on the sidelines and you got to start putting your viewpoint out there. Well, you know who you are that said that. I'm getting off the sidelines and we're going to discuss these controversial topics. And I'm going to make it an invite right here. If you work for Aztec, Opus, AirPro, any of those companies that are remote scanning, you work with an aftermarket scan tool and you want to get on and you want to have a professional, respectful dialogue and discussion or debate about OEM versus aftermarket scan tools and what's involved in some of these pre-agreed pricing agreements, well, I'm going to invite you, get in touch with me and come on my podcast, May 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be broadcasting that live from Dallas, Texas. We're going to get away from all the PowerPoints, all the fancy webcams, and we're going to go straight to giving you what we think you need to hear about. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I want to say thank you to Tim. Brooke had to go to work, and say thank you to Brian for joining us on today's podcast. Listen, we hope to see you again on the road with Mike Anderson, serving up some collision advice. Thanks, and make it a great day. See you, everybody.